Alrighty, good evening, everyone. This is meteorologist Timmy Albertson here with you guys. Just giving kind of a quick little update here. There is some pretty active weather down around the St. Louis metro yet again. We're seeing kind of this now forming into a line. Earlier, it was kind of more or less a segmented line with a few supercells, actually. Now it's kind of morphing itself into a little bit of a line as it makes its way now into the East St. Louis area. And we have quite a bit of tornado warnings with this thing. Of course, most of them at the moment being radar indicated, but there were a few at least possible tornadoes just a little bit ago. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tornado warnings on this line. Again, this is kind of a QLCS line. And given the amount of wind shear that we have right now and the way that this line is kind of bowing out at times, we've had at least the probability of, I guess a higher probability of seeing at least a few little spin-up tornadoes. Now, overall, this whole area is under a severe thunderstorm watch, and that's going to go still here for a little bit. But what's actually causing all this is we have a cold front that is pushing its way through this region. Not the cold front from yesterday. That one is already way, way, way off towards the east. This is a secondary front, low-pressure system that's moving its way through. So just kind of adding to the fun, I guess. As far as hail reports are concerned, it does look like there might have been a couple of storms that might have tried to have some, decent, maybe 1 to 1.25 inch size hail a little bit ago. But right now, we really haven't actually gotten many hail reports, at least at the moment, from this line of storms. But if we took a look at this line here, you can see, again, it extends all the way from Taylorville, heading back down through parts of Mount Olive, and then all the way over into the East St. Louis suburbs on the Illinois side, and then back down towards, the south side of St. Louis, and then all the way down towards Salem there. It's kind of a little bit of a long line. But again, really the high active area has been this section kind of right here. And I know it doesn't probably show a whole lot, but again, at times there has been, a little bit of rotation notches here and there. Now, we do actually have one tornado that is observed at the moment, and it is located just to the north there of Troy. And we can kind of see it here on the velocities. And keep in mind, folks, that when we look at the velocity here, we're kind of looking at the winds with the storm here. And this is, like I said, this is a line that is kind of bowing out in segments. So we got air kind of rushing a little bit faster into the storm one way, and not so much in another part of the storm there. So it kind of causes these little surges here. And in meteorology, we call these little features right here, this little guy right here, we call those, these are bow echoes more or less. These are, backward C shapes. And those are where you'll tend to see a little bit of an enhanced straight line wind type of setup. But also, depending on the circumstances, sometimes on the northern edge of them, you can kind of have a little bit of a heightened probability for rotation at the surface and getting a little tornado to pop up here and there. And if we take a look at where these warnings are, well, they're right on that. Again, we have this little notch of rotation right here near Livingston, and then we have the other one that is just north of Troy. So again, kind of on the northern edge there of those little bows. Now, again, folks, for those of you who are ever watching a radar at home, if you see a bow echo, it doesn't always mean there's going to be a tornado, all right? But if the circumstances and the intensities are right, yeah, you can sometimes get a little bit of a spin up here with that. So, again, like I said, we tend to see the more probable on the northern edge of those. So, with that all being said, let's take a little bit of a look here. Now, look at this. Brand new tornado warning coming out here. Now, this got really interesting. Actually, I'm going to be honest. This may be one of the largest size area coverage tornado warnings I have seen. That is kind of ridiculously huge. So let's talk about this tornado warning here. So again, we got this line of storms, which again at times has shown, cycles of rotation in various spots. And again, it's a bowing feature. We actually kind of talked a little bit about this yesterday. We were tracking those storms down across parts of Ohio. So in this situation, though, based on what has been happening as it made its way through, far eastern Missouri and then into the St. Louis area, been tracking these storms for, past couple hours, actually. And what's interesting, not interesting, but we had this very large new tornado warning, all right? And again, for a tornado warning, this is a little big in terms of area coverage. But what they're doing here is this. They're saying that Since we get this segmented line here that's bowing out in some spots, and given the fact that we've seen some rotations here and there, and in this case, potentially another observed tornado near the Glen Carbon area, what it looks like they're going ahead and do is they kind of issued this blanket tornado warning out across, right ahead of this storm line as it moves through. Reason for this? Well, if something decides it wants to spin up very quickly. Sometimes when it comes to issuing warnings, there is sometimes there's some rationale behind it. But I will say that it's kind of a large area-sized tornado warning, which I just think is kind of interesting. But when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tornado warnings all going at the same time, it can make things a little bit trippy. So let's go ahead here, and I want to take a look exactly what they're going to be mentioning with this. And so unlike yesterday, we were talking about a lot of hail. Right now, this is not really kind of a hail-producing situation. Now, there's probably going to be some small hail maybe in some of those heavier pockets. But earlier, it was a little bit more of a hail type of setup. But now we're seeing it more of a kind of a straight line wind with a few little spotty bits of rotation here and there. So let's take a look at this. We're going to time this portion out here that is coming right up on. Let's go ahead and I'm going to time it out for marine going. Let's just go ahead and pull it up towards the east. We'll get ourselves a good little time track on this thing here. That's going about 45 miles an hour, kind of what we'd expect for these type of lines, though sometimes they can actually move a little bit faster, and sometimes they actually do move a lot faster. Depending upon the situation. So let's take a look here and get some towns up here. It is going to be the whole line itself. And what we're just kind of doing here is more or less looking for timing, I guess, per se here. So this part of the storm will be making its way into Pocahontas in about 20 minutes, and then maybe over towards Beaver Creek in the next half hour. So if we were to kind of go ahead and, put a little bit of a line with this here, let's say Pocahontas here the next 20 minutes. So if we look at how this line of storms is, this is probably where it's generally going to be here, probably in about the next 20, 25 minutes or so, right along this blue line, the whole leading edge of it here. And honestly, even probably more up like that too. So kind of right along that area, if that makes any sense. Again, really just heavy rains and, again, some gusty winds. In fact, if we take a look here at the velocities, one thing that we are seeing is these are some pretty decent pockets here. Whoops, we got to turn that off. All right, these are some pretty decent pockets of at least some straight line winds, probably on the order here of, again, maybe upwards of about 60 mile an hour or so. I mean, again, this is a very defined little bow echo right here. Nice little straight line wind burst there. Certainly probably going to maybe take a few branches with it, tree branches. But, like I said, probably about 60, potentially maybe up to 70 mile an hour could be possible in that. But and that's these bright areas that we're seeing. And these are high values of winds going away from the radar, that red color there. So as mentioned, like I said, this we also have a brand new tornado warning, not quite as big as this one down here, but still a pretty decent size. And that includes the Hillsborough area. And again, this warning is given the fact that we've actually had this storm right here. I've been watching this thing. This thing over the past couple of hours has really been kind of like a star player, I guess. It has really stood out. It was a really kind of well-shaped, pretty well-built supercell as it was moving its way through, eastern Missouri, and then ultimately back into, now we see it in Illinois here. It does look like it has kind of ran into the rest of the activity, as that looked like it happened a little bit ago. But if you took a look, you could still see some of that rotation within that storm. So that mesocyclone is certainly still going. And to give you an idea, we're looking at, here's Effingham, Illinois, Vandalia, Illinois, and there's St. Louis. So again, right now, our main focus over the next, couple of hours is going to be southern Illinois. And then what we're also going to see as we go through the evening hours is we'll probably see more shower and thunderstorm activity kind of firing up a little bit more down to the south and to the west. This is taking forever to load. There it goes. A little bit more down to the south and to the west here, and then some of that will try pushing its way towards the east. However, this stuff that we're seeing now, may end up being the strongest part of this system. We'll have to see how things shape up, and especially once the sun begins to set. Now, obviously, the conditions are at least favorable for the thunderstorms to kind of continue at least during the overnight. But whether or not they'll have this much excitement with them, we'll kind of have to wait and see a little bit. But overall, that is kind of the setup right now. As mentioned, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, and technically we got 7 tornado warnings up right now. But really, these two are just the replacements for these as that line tracks its way up. One other thing here, while we got all of your guys' attention, take a little bit of a peek at this particular warning here. Again, that one's radar indicated. Are they still having this one as observed? Let's double check. My guess is not anymore. And then we have this guy here. So again, tornado warning that is going to be out ahead here of this line, Greenville, Carlisle, and then Breeze. I'm going to go Breeze. It's Breese. And I want to say Breeze, but it's not a Z. All right. So with that in mind, there's a quick little update for you guys on what is going on. All right, well, I'll keep tracking this line for you guys. If anything changes, I'll be more than happy to let you guys know. But in the meantime, thank you all very much for taking the time to join me here on this little update here as we took a look at mainly some radar-indicated rotations. And again, these little spin-up tornadoes will be possible on this line at least over the next hour or so. Not expecting, anything majorly long track, but mainly just kind of more of a straight line wind type of a setup here with this type of line. So hope you'll have a good rest of your evening. If anything changes, I'll come back to you. But in the meantime, keep enjoying that weather.